Alright, how Sifu Kairesh, how are you all doing? Today I'm going to share an interesting topic. Okay, it's raised by my student who asked me this. Hey Sifu, is tones really important? Good question. Well, if you learn Mandarin from beginning, of course, if you go to a Chinese school and you learn on your own, of course, pinyin is very important because you have to learn the four tones. Because in the entire chapter of in pinyin, there are two parts. One is called the pronunciation. Another one is called the pinyin. Pronunciation is the way you pronounce. Let's say if I give you BA, okay, you don't tell ba, it's called pa. There's a way of pronouncing, okay? So another one is called tones, which is there's four tones. Okay, so let's say the word pa, ba, pa. Okay, there's four ways of pronouncing it. Actually, it's the fifth. There's another five ways. Okay, let's make it four ways. Four tones. So tone number one, you say pa. Tone number two, pa. Tone number three, pa. Tone number four, pa. You see, there are four ways. But of course, there's a fifth way called the neutral tone. Okay, in Mandarin, you say qing sheng. Okay, what is qing sheng? Qing sheng means tones. You speak it fast. Let's say, for example, to ask a question in Mandarin, you say, let's say, for example, you want to say, have you eaten? In Mandarin, you say, 你吃饱了吗? 你吃饱了吗? But the ma is to denote a question, correct? So, but the way you pronounce the word ma, there's no tones when you pronounce the word ma, especially when you're asking a question. So this is where you use the neutral tone. So how do you use the neutral tone? You say, 你吃饱了吗? You see, I'm speaking it fast, but that's how you pronounce it. You do not say 你吃饱了吗? No, that's wrong. Okay, 你吃饱了吗? The ma, you speak it fast. When you speak it fast, this is called the neutral tone, qing sheng. All right. So now, talking about the four tones, okay, the four tones another day I'll share. We'll talk about is really important to master the four tones or not. Okay, the conventional way, if you learn the actual way of learning Mandarin, of course, it's important. But if you ask me, is it really very important? The answer is no. You don't have to master tones. Why? Simply because you just imagine a baby, okay, just gone into this world, okay? Let's say, for example, if you're an Indian or a Malay, okay, what is your first language? English, Malay, or Tamil? Okay, of course, we are in Malaysia, so these are the first three languages. What do you do first? You observe your parents. Did you go for class to learn English? No, right? At 1 year, what class to go? Cannot go anywhere, correct or not? So basically, what do? You observe your parents speak. That's how you start learning pronunciation. You learn tones. You see how they talk. Then you just follow how they talk, correct? Similarly goes to a child, a Chinese child, born into this world, following the way the parents speak. The way they speak, this is where they speak with tones. But they never learned this tone number one, tone number two, tone number three, tone number four. They never learn through 2-year-old what tones you have to learn, what pronunciation you have to learn. You just simply get it right, correct? So when you simply get it right, you just speak it right. So this is when you go to school, this is where they teach you, hey, there's four tones. But half of the journey has been done already when the child is still young. But I'm talking for a non-Chinese that you cannot speak Mandarin at all, but you already come to a certain age. How are you going to master tones? There's only one way. You can write this down. The only way to master tones is by being in the environment. Have you seen any of your Chinese friends who can speak fluently? Any Indian friends or non-Chinese friends who can speak Mandarin so fluently and they've never been to a Chinese school? What did they do? If you ask them about the four tones, they may not know the four tones also, but they're speaking it right. How did they do it without attending classes? The only way is they are constantly in their environment where they're exposed to the Chinese language all the time. When you expose yourself in the Chinese environment, you don't need to know the four tones. As long as you keep hearing, you just have to keep hearing and, just blend yourself into the crowd, into the speaking. You may not understand anything. It's okay, just be in an environment, because when your listening is strong, your understanding will start kicking in. This is where you start asking them, hey, you're speaking like this, what's the meaning? If you keep speaking like this, what is the meaning? You keep exposing yourself to an environment, you begin speaking the language with the tones. Because if you think and see, every word has a tone, correct? Every word. So there's about thousands of Chinese characters with different tones. How are you going to master every single sentence with different tones at different times? It's going to be impossible, correct? This is where I tell my students, don't worry much on the tones. The one, you focus on what is achievable. What is achievable? Pronunciation is achievable. You like B is P, like pa. Let's say Z. Z sounds like C. So zai, let's Z-A-I, zai. So this is all straightforward, is very easy to learn. Master pronunciation first, because that is achievable. It builds your confidence. Step number 2, be in a Chinese speaking environment or Mandarin speaking environment. When you're exposed yourself to an environment, immediately you'll start catching the tones. This is what I want you to do. Follow the way a baby learns. Go back down to the natural way of learning. How? By modeling how they speak. Like a child, for example, when you grow up, you model how your parents speak. Like English, you model how they speak. In Tamil, you model how they speak. That's why in school, you don't really pay attention let's say if you're English, you grow up learning English, you don't really pay attention in English class, correct or not? Kalau Bahasa Melayu, same thing. You don't really pay attention in Malay language in school. Tamil is the same. You don't really pay attention, but somehow or other just know it. How you know it? It is because you are in that environment. Similarly, if you want to master Mandarin in terms of tones, master pronunciation, that is achievable. Okay? Tones, be in the environment. Constantly be in the environment, copy how they speak, and you just speak. When I say copy how they speak, means the pronunciation, how they pronounce, and the tones, how they speak. How did they pull the tones? How did it, there's a way of doing it. When you constantly do that, I think within 6 months to a year, you can start becoming fluent. When I say fluent, that means when you say you're fluent in Mandarin, that means your tones, you get it right. And a Chinese, no. Tones is not easy to learn. But the only way to learn is by being in an environment. There's no other ways. You can memorize as much as you want. But if you're not in an environment, you will definitely make that mistake. Okay? That's why the fastest way to learn Mandarin is stay in China, stay there for 3 months, and come back. Guarantee everything will be right. I have got some people who went to China for 2-3 years, also still cannot speak Mandarin. I wonder how they're surviving there. So anyway, so what did we learn today? Focus on what is achievable, which is pronunciation. Second is tones. Tones you can only master if you are in that environment. Okay? Now, you and I, let's say we are very busy, we've got no time to be in an environment. Then fine. Don't have to stress yourself. Oh my God, I have to get the tones right. Without getting tones right, then you get stressed yourself. No need to worry about tones. I give you an example. And I always practice this with my students also in my class. I always tell them, you see, I speak Mandarin, okay, and I speak without tones to a Chinese. See whether they understand or not. So I just speak without tones. Hi, ni hao, ni 吃饱了吗？我吃饱了，你住在哪里？你住在吉隆坡。我也是住在吉隆坡。Now, I spoke Mandarin without tones. Is it funny? Yes, it's funny. But will the person understand? Yes, of course. Okay, but of course you speak in Mandarin is different. Hi, 你吃饱了吗？你在哪里？你住在哪里？你住在吉隆坡。我也是住在吉隆坡。That is with tones. But of course, I grew up in a Chinese school. So I went through 6 years of Chinese school. That's why I get the tones in. So this is what you have to do. If you're young, if you're still in your schooling days, then go ahead and have Chinese friends. If you're in a working life, you're in business life, try to expose yourself. Be in a group of Chinese. Have Chinese friends, especially if they do not know much about English or Malay or Tamil. They only know Mandarin only. That's it. You just be in that environment. Of course, first few rounds, you just get lost. Pay attention. Take a lot of notes. Try to copy how they speak. This is the fastest way for you to learn this language. All right. So comment below. Let me know what are the 3 big things that you learned from this lesson. All right. 谢谢你，再见。